Can we please welcome back to the stage Billy Corben? And joining Billy to lead the Q&A tonight is David Fear from RollingStone.com.
Congratulations on this.
Thank you.
Listen, I ask for very little in the movies that I watch. Really, all I ever want in them are sex and drugs and baseball and corrupt cops and centaur posters and mangled penises and steroids, and damned if this thing didn't deliver every single one of those things. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I imagine that you started following the story when that first Miami New Times thing broke. At what point did you decide this was something you were going to try and make a documentary about?
I did. We certainly were friends with Tim Elfrink at the New Times, being Miamians, and Tim obviously broke the story in a very big way, and we added this very quickly to our Google database, of Florida fuckery, and something that we would just kind of monitor. We actually have a Google Docs spreadsheet of stories as they come up that we might be interested in. But that was a very breaking story, it was still a developing story, and so we didn't think it would be something we'd get around to for quite some time. And by November of 2013, so this broke in January-ish, November of 2013, we got a call from Alex Rodriguez's publicist to meet with Alex to talk about it in the midst of the arbitration with MLB.
From Alex
Yes.
Rodriguez's publicist.
And we met Alex, who pitched us a documentary from his perspective about the biogenesis scandal and the MLB arbitration that he was in the midst of. And we sat with him for about an hour and a half, and he lied to us for about an hour and a half. Everything after "Hi, I'm Alex" was bullshit, and it turned out to all be part of his, I guess, best defense was a good offense against MLB. He was just lying to everybody at the time and trying to throw as much shit against the wall as he could, and needless to say, he kind of ghosted us after that. He was not legitimately interested in doing a project. And the following year, in 2014, we heard from Tony Bosch, who was on his way to federal prison at the time. And then shortly thereafter, we heard from Porter Fisher. Where's Porter? Porter Fisher, come on up.
Is he here?
Porter's here. Where are you? Come on up. Porter Fisher, everybody. And also Dr. Tony Bosch. Where's Dr. Tony? There he is. Here he comes. Porter, you want to say a few words?
Wow, they're both here. Wow.
They're both, yes. Doctor?
All right, I guess before we go on any further, and I'm going to ask Dr. Tony Bosch to cover his ears for this part, what distinguishes Florida fuckery from your run-of-the-mill fuckery?
We just seem to distill it here, don't we? You know what? There's a saying I'm very fond of. LA is where you go when you want to be somebody. New York is where you go when you are somebody, and Miami's where you go when you want to be somebody else. It's just Florida's always been a sunny place for shady people, and Miami in particular has always been like the Casablanca of America. It's just a place where everybody, like running from anywhere or anything, eventually seems to wind up in South Florida, and then they get together in this just incendiary mix, and they hatch the most preposterous plots and schemes and scams, and then export those. I don't, and it's something about the geography of the country too. If you just sort of just tilt it ever so gently this way, eventually all this shit just sort of pools, right down at the bottom. I mean, I'm closer to Cuba than to home right now. I am, and I live in Miami, That's what they say, the great thing about Miami is it's so close to the United States. So.
At what point did you decide you were going to use kid actors for the recreations? And talk a little bit about where you cast them, how you directed them, what that experience was like. If Tony wants to, weigh in on this too at any point, please go right ahead.
What kid actors?
Next question.
Actually, it was an idea that was first hatched in 1997 when I saw Spike Jonze's "Sky's the Limit" video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was faced with a unique challenge. Biggie had just been murdered, and he was doing a posthumous music video, and his idea was, who cares? Let me just do it straight-faced. Let me just do a classic mid-'90s, late '90s Bad Boy Records video. He cast Baby Biggie, Baby Puffy, Baby Lil' Kim, Baby Busta Rhymes, and they had the cars and the mansion and the hot tub, and they just lip-synced it straight. And I don't know, I always wanted to do something like that. And it's not often you get a documentary subject that'll work. Like Cocaine Cow Babies would have been terrible, I think, if we had done that.
Or would it have been?
Yeah. Now that I say it out loud, it seems like a great idea. But no, like this was just an idea we always wanted to apply, and it seemed in a way a lot of the adults in this story acted like children. Alex, in particular, and it just seemed like a great. And Porter's such a vivid storyteller, as was Tony. When he talks, he's very in the moment. He speaks very much in dialogue. I said this, and then he said this, and I was like, oh, we could really drunk history this. Have the actors lip sync the dialogue, and the actors will all be 8 or 10. How old are you?
11.
11. Also, they make me look tall. That's why I like to work with child actors, to be perfectly honest.
It was very smart, yeah.
Some of them are bigger than me now. They've all growth spurted since like February. Jonathan Blanco, Brian's brother, plays, you don't recognize him with hair, but he plays Pete Carbone, the bald tan guy.
There you go.
There he is.
Good job.
Yes.
Take it out.
We don't invite him up because he's one of the kids that's taller than me now. So he doesn't.
There's Mini-Me
sorry.
right there.
And Mini-Me.
Mini-Me right there. Guy,
and he's still,
stand up.
Frankie
Mini Porter
was
right
Baby
there.
Porter. Baby Porter Fisher.
Take a bow, sir.
The best dressed guy in the room. Oh yeah, Manny Ramirez, baby Manny Ramirez.
Guys, you guys should all
Where's
come
Manny?
up.
Davian?
You guys should all come
Davian's
up.
here. Oh, there's more. Hang on. We have Jake. Oh, Oogie. Oogie's here.
Ricky.
Oh, wow, baby Oogie.
Hold on, we should just bring them all up.
Wow.
They
Just
got the
come
whole
up,
cast,
come up,
man.
come
Come on,
up, all the
guys.
kids.
Come on up here.
We have Jake.
Wait, baby,
Mini
Tim.
Porter.
Jake is Ricky Martinez.
Carbone, you guys come on up here.
Just got out of hand. Ian. Tim
We got
Elfring.
room. We got room for you
Davian.
guys. Come on up.
I didn't realize there were so many here. There we go.
We got a lot.
And
So
there's
everybody
Manny.
except, literally everybody except for Alex Rodriguez is here.
Come on up, Mini Manny. It's a good photo. Sit down, sit down. Come on, guys. What's up? One in the front. One in the front. Yeah, the maximum seats there. Come on, guys. There you go. This is a photo op, guys, right here. Get close.
Squeeze in, Jake. Squeeze in. Squeeze in, guys. Squeeze in. Squeeze in.
All right, so now there's
Yeah.
much more questions
yeah.
because you can ask any one of these guys a question. All right.
Everybody, one more time right here.
Key West.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Let's
you
hear it for
very
the
much.
cast of Screwball, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
We just totally crashed this Q&A.
Are they staying up here? Can I ask them questions?
Of course, yeah, please.
All right. So, what was it like being on set? How was it playing the players? How is he as a director? Lay it on me, kids.
Billy as a director is probably like the best experience that you could have because he's just such a perfectionist, and we all got to learn a lot off of that. And also, we just had such a great time actually playing our characters, and Billy casted us so well, and we just matched them all perfectly.
Good job.
So, did you get you get advice from the real Porter on how to play him? What did he tell you?
I kind of didn't meet him, so yeah, it's tough.
Actually, so it was a secret. It was a secret. Porter didn't know.
No, it wasn't, yeah.
Nobody knew.
All right, Porter, so what went through your head the first time you saw...
Well, actually, the first time I ever saw the screening, it brought me back to what was going on, and I really didn't actually see the child actors as child actors. I saw it recreated the whole way that Bill and the guys at the studio did. I'll be honest, it was a little bit traumatic. I walked away from it a couple times, but I came back to it the second and the third time, and I saw what these guys were trying to do, and I appreciate every single one of these guys for doing the job that they did. It was an awesome job, awesome job.
All right, I'm going to ask one semi-serious question, and then I'm going to turn it over to the audience. Having gone through this story and dived into some pretty unseemly parts of the Major League Baseball, which is America's pastime, and all this stuff, what do you think this story says about the American dream and the kind of bigger, better, faster, more mentality of America?
Yeah, I think it sadly represents what I call the I guess new core American values, which when I grew up, my parents taught honesty, integrity, the golden rule, treat other people the way you'd want them to treat you. And now it seems to be lie, cheat, and steal, and win. So lie, cheat, and steal, and you'll be promoted to commissioner of baseball. Lie, cheat, and steal, and you'll be the highest paid baseball player of all time, retire in disgrace, and then get to be a multi-million-dollar commentator for Major League Baseball. Lie, cheat, and steal, and you two kids can be president of the United States.
There it is.
I think so. That's the message, unfortunately, that we're sending to our children now, and I think it's disturbing. But I think that's MAGA, So.
All right, questions from the audience. What do we got here? You.
One big question. What did all of you young men, I call you men, learn from this experience?
Nice.
I learned to have fun while still being serious. I thank you for that. I learned to have a lot of fun on set, even though I always had to be working, learning my lines, and perfecting my scenes. That's what I learned.
I guess more importantly, what did you learn from the message of this film is what I really wanted to know.
By the way, he shaved his head. He shaved his head for this role.
I sure did.
His head.
Brother for doing that. What did you learn from the message that Billy was trying to convey and show about what's really going on in professional sports as a whole?
That you shouldn't really idolize these superstars because in reality they're not. They don't have the best the best morals, the best people to idolize. Like I said.
I personally believe that you should be your own character and not depend on other people, because if you choose your own character, then you can decide how you want to act and you can be your own role model and then hopefully inspire other people to do the correct thing.
What did you learn?
So, So I pretty much learned to actually stay serious, and if it doesn't really work out the first scene, just move on and just focus on the next scene and at least have fun with it, because I've had a flippin' hilarious time. Oh man.
One thing that I'll say is that the movie itself shows that, like, a lot of the time, cheating is how you get to the top. In fact, my brother plays minor league baseball with a bunch of, like, 10-year-olds, and this coach comes up here, says, if you ain't cheating, you ain't winning. He was like, faked something so a kid could get on his team. So it really shows that the way things work nowadays, if you ain't cheating, you ain't winning.
Well, there you go.
Welcome to 2018, everybody.
And what I learned as a child actor was...
What I learned about this new experience was learning more about my character, new roles, and it was just a great experience to find out and accomplish.
Excellent. Good job.
Is it my turn?
I don't know.
You better nail it.
Make the big U proud. One thing that I really saw from just all this drug scandal thing is just that they've just made such dumb decisions and actually kind of bringing up the sport, yet taking it and ripping it apart. As where if someone that didn't take steroids or didn't take any drugs, and they were one of the top-notch players, and this just normal guy took a bunch of steroids and is now a multi-millionaire and just blew everyone out of the water. It's really just not unfair to the sport and the other players.
Roar, I'm Hulk.
I'd say something. Porter has a deep Key West connection. Porter, do you want to talk?
I did want to say that I don't know if it means anything to anybody, but one of the reasons why it was so important for me to attend this screening of the film, especially in the United States, was because of my deep connection to Key West. My grandfather was J.Y. Porter IV, and we have the house over here on Caroline and Duval. And my grandmother was Edna Gatto, who is Eduardo H. Gatto's daughter, who has from Gattoville, the cigar factory, which is now the, I think it's City Hall or something like that. I've always been really, really connected to the Key West. And so when they said that the initial premiere was going to be down here in Key West, it really meant a lot to me, much more than it was Miami or New York or Toronto. So I just wanted to say that and say how important it was for me to be down here for this. I know it's a little bit smaller than most, but to me it meant a lot more. So thank you guys for attending. I almost choked up on that. Thank you.
You right there.
So really, this is kind of cool. This is like the 2018 version of the Sandlot, right? But in all seriousness, like, what Tony, not just Tony, think what compelled him to be so open in this documentary? I think that just floored me how he was so candid and he looked so insane at the same time.
So, speaking of candid but insane, he was sitting right down here for the screening, and he bolted before the credits ran. So you might, and I believe, Porter, if I'm not mistaken, is that the first time you guys have been in a room together since 2012?
Yeah, guys. Billy, thank you. To be honest, that was a major concern for me because I haven't seen him since some of the stuff went down. And not to take away, this production was fantastic. At the time, living it, there wasn't a whole lot of laughs. So seeing him and hearing that he might be around was traumatic for me. He was here. He was here tonight. People noticed him coming in. I don't know if he noticed me or not. He was sitting right over here or sitting right over there. I had to have security because I didn't know what was going to happen. You can't, some of the stuff you see in the movie go, oh, that will never happen. I didn't know. So I didn't know what was going to happen. He's around. You see him on the street, he's going to be at Parrot Lounge or somewhere else, ask him. Ask him, hey, what did you think about the movie? He's already seen it. Why he's here, I don't know.
And if he's got a pen and a cocktail napkin, he'll give you a protocol right there at the Green Parrot, actually. So an interesting epilogue here, and I should mention, was in deleted scenes, there was some serious things that went down. There was a car chase. Porter was actually chased around Pinecrest, his neighborhood, by some investigators. There was some scary things, some death threats that were made on both sides. So it was, at the time, not a very funny experience. Why Tony did this, I'm never quite sure why people say yes. I'm used to people saying no to us when we're doing interviews. But when you get out of federal prison, there's not a world full of opportunity usually for you. And sometimes it's best to sort of revive your 15 minutes, I guess. But there's a wonderful epilogue that I wanted to shoot, but we ran out of time and money with a bunch of kids in federal prison jumpsuits. because Tony wound up at a minimum security prison, a camp, what they call a camp, in Alabama, where he was there with, I think, Jeff Skilling from Enron, Jesse Jackson Jr., and so they all volunteered. Jesse Jackson Jr. taught civics and poli-sci to his fellow prisoners. Jeff Skilling taught like a business class where his fellow inmates would devise a business plan and present it to him. And Tony taught nutrition and actually wrote protocols to his fellow inmates based on what they could get at commissary. If they were looking to build muscle, if they're looking to lose weight, he would recommend to them various supplements and vitamins that they could take to do that. Same thing with the prison guards, apparently, which I thought have been a really great epilogue. We would have to outfit all these guys with the prison, federal prison jumpsuits. But I don't know the answer. I wish he had stuck around so he could answer that question for you. I know Porter doesn't wish that he had stuck around, so I'm glad, I guess, that he took off.
Right up front. Go right ahead.
That's our Tia Clow.
I just wanted to know, what the Sandlot was a great, metaphor for what's happening here, an illusion. But what was it like? Did you feel like you had to overact to, really convey what was being said?
I sure did. I was. I had to act very aggressive, very angry, tense on my scenes. And that wasn't really how I normally felt before I acted. I was always happy-go-lucky, loose. Then I just had to switch, be this kind of guy.
You guys all nailed that. There was an emotional piece that all of you conveyed, and I can only imagine it came from the direction that you got. That was bringing, and everybody it really tied all of the narrative elements of the story perfectly.
Thank you. But my part was just the cool drug dealer that gave away steroids, so. You want some, I got some.
All right, with the exception of the cool drug dealer here. No, I will say that when I watched the movie too, I was really amazed at how well these young actors got into the role, saying how do you know how to, I don't know, act like a drug dealer, or how do you know how to act like a pompous?
Brian, I have to ask you, and then Frankie. Brian.
Right, here, watch, Ryan. Dude, how do you know how to act like a... I don't even want to say the word.
Hang on, Brian, do you remember when we had you watching, you had a bottle of IBC root beer?
Oh yeah.
And you were watching a baseball game, you were watching your work. Do you remember what you said to me? How you, where you channeled your inspiration from?
I mean, first of all, I said, "Can I please have water?" in exchange for the root beer. And then, wait, what was the question again?
What did you say? How did you nail that? You laid back and you sort of swigged on that root beer, and how did you get that? Where'd you get that inspiration from? Do you remember?
I learned from my father. It's a natural swig effect.
Right. Do you want to say something?
Oh yeah, it was pretty easy to act like him because we act like kids. Yes. No offense.
I don't know who told you about it, but yes, you nailed it. Yes, I don't know who gave you the insight, but you nailed it.
Yes, that very handsome gentleman right there has a question.
So, for some reason, I let Billy color the end of the Kilo Festival video. Very unsightly homage to his alma mater, the University of Miami. And I bring this up because I have to imagine it was painful in making this to, do an expose in this regard, to,
Well, I think in the U Part 2, the 30 for 30 sequel that we did, we spent a good deal of time calling the administration of the University of Miami, particularly Donna Shalala, to task for her conduct. And I remember when she resigned from the University of Miami as president, and they announced that Donna Shalala was going to be joining the Clinton Foundation. And I was like, what a perfect place for her, because she doesn't care where the money comes from, And so, it seemed perfectly fitting. And this is one of those cases here too, where, Donna Shalala said, hey, did Alex's check clear? Like, yes, Madam President. She's like, perfect, So, I mean, there's no love lost between me and Donna Shalala, Lord knows. So, I mean, I have no trouble, calling it like I see it. And I think that the University of Miami probably should have thought twice. You have to understand that in February of '09, when they dedicated that park, when his check cleared and they dedicated the park at the University of Miami with Alex's name, that was the same week the Sports Illustrated story ran, exposing his steroid use from earlier in the decade, from '01 to '03. And that's when he had that press conference in February of '09 where he says, don't judge me about the mistakes I made in the past. Judge me essentially about the lies I'm telling you now and in the future, basically. Because you have to remember, within a year of that or so of that, he went to Tony Bosch and said, I'll have what Manny's having. So I mean, I have no trouble calling it like I see it, and certainly the University of Miami has made its fair share of mistakes.
Guys, I got to say right now that, touching on that's something nobody really knows about. I was driving in a car, and I listened to an interview that Billy was doing with a local radio station, whether it was 560, 940, 790, one of the two. And everybody knows that he's a big University of Miami fan, but he was getting on them about something, and he was talking real. He wasn't sugarcoating it, he was just talking real. And we're talking about terrestrial radio, where you can't cuss, can't do this, can't do that. But he was talking very, very hard, very about what they should or shouldn't be doing. And he mentioned something about the stadium, because it was going on, about Alex Rodriguez and the stadium, his name being on the stadium, and that he thought it was kind of controversial, or it wasn't right that his name was on the stadium, being, to young students out there, what message are they getting sent? That's the day I turned around and called Tim Elfrink, who was the guy I brought the story with at New Times, and I said, do you know Billy Corben? He's like, yeah, I do. He's a good friend of mine. I said, can you put me together with him? I'd like to meet him. That's why I called Billy. That's why I called him and said I wanted to have a meeting. Not to do this, not to do anything else, because I liked the position that he stood for, that even though he was, in everybody's eyes, a UM guy, a Miami guy, that he was willing to ask the hard questions, take the hard stance, and stand up for something that might go against the grain. So that's why I partnered up with Billy, because I thought from that point, when I heard him on the radio, I was like, I gotta hang out with this guy. So.
Tuckman says we got time for one more question, so what Tuckman says goes. Hand back there, right there.
What was the question?
Why the Miami New Times?
Actually, to be honest, the first, there was only two places I was going to. At first, I went to ESPN, and because I was looking, when I was finding out stuff, when I found out the name Bosch, and I found out, and I started to backtrack on just Google, there was only two news entities that had a story on Pedro Bosch, the original Bosch. And it was ESPN and the New Times. And I call up ESPN, and I said, hey, I'd like to talk to you guys. I want to know if you guys, I think I might have something for you. They're like, oh, we need to write here, write there, do this, do that. And I was like, screw that. So I turned around and called the New Times, and I found Tim Elfrink's name. He was the guy that originally wrote the first article. I said, hey, I'd like to talk to you guys, left a message. The very next day, he called me up. And to me, the New Times, just like the whole thing, the New Times was a smaller organization, very grassroots, didn't seem to be inhibited or influenced by other people. In this whole story, I'm the little guy. Yeah, it's one of those kind of things where I really felt connected to the smaller people that wanted to do the right thing. And Tim Elfrink, I love this man. And the New Times, I can't say enough about it. These guys are the only ones that really told the real story. You can Google and you can see 1,000 different articles about the story, but the New Times is really the only guys that got it right. And when you talk to people like Billy and in his organization, they really took the time to find out the real story and didn't go with what was sensationalized. And they went and got the grit of it. Again, fantastic story, very, very light. Loved it. Thank you.
This movie reminds me of Who's on First. Who's
Everybody
on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third.
Everybody on this stage, take a bow. You guys earned it. Thank you guys so much for sticking around.